Hello. Hello.
Back for another podcast.
I'm James.
Oh, I'm Nick.
And we decided to record another podcast. Or
Why
maybe
not?
the first podcast.
Probably is the first podcast you'll ever see because the other one is corrupted.
This one will also be corrupted because it's recorded in exactly the same way.
Yeah, we don't really know how to record podcasts. Audacity is a piece of shit. I'm just gonna put that out there. Audacity is shit. It always crashes
It's
on
lightweight
Linux.
though, so it's for good.
It's lightweight. I don't know why there can't be a recording software which isn't as shit as Audacity.
Like there's one that came with the Logitech thing,
Really?
the webcam we're using, and it was bollocks and didn't work.
I bet that didn't install on Linux.
No, it
No,
didn't.
it was probably some bullshit that came with it.
Probably easier on mine than yours though.
I don't know why there isn't like a command line utility that you can't like just
I'm sure
download.
there
Probably
definitely is.
Probably like 1,000 tags and I have no idea how to use it. Okay. Patlabor was really boring. We're halfway through and I cannot be bothered to carry on watching it. It is so dull.
Why is it dull?
It's dull because
Why
nothing
is it
happens.
not interesting?
As you said before, she has this way. He has this way. Like everything, just nothing happens. There's bits of story being told, but it's literally just pictures of people's faces with text underneath, but not interesting like Monogatari. It is just boring.
Well, Monogatari is boring.
Monogatari is not boring.
Monogatari is boring.
you
Oshii films are all interesting, including this one. Even though it's boring, it is interesting.
No, nothing's happening, and you have all these
Lots of things
happen. Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Okay, so Patlabor is like it's like a sci-fi kind of cyberpunk-ish film, and the point is, it's like
it's just got mechs.
it has mechs, but it's kind of like it's like set in a future that's feasible, right? It's like
Okay,
it's set
surely every future is feasible. Isn't that the point of sci-fi?
It's set in like a near future that is feasible.
Yeah.
And the point is that there's something's gone wrong with the robots, with their operating system. But the point is that the police can't report on it because that would like collapse this large company. This company's so large that would collapse like a lot of people's livelihoods, and this entire this national project would collapse. And so it's an interesting story of like political and judicial like intrigue. It's got like conspiracy. It's an interesting film.
It's a shame that nothing's really going on. I feel like if it was actually interesting, I might like it.
Okay, well the characters are boring, and the
characters
things
are
that happen are boring. But you're retarded if you can't just find it interesting, despite it being boring.
What does that mean?
You can read a textbook and it can be interesting, but really dry.
It can be interesting on like an academic level, but it's not going to be
Yes.
like, oh, this is interesting.
This is interesting on an
How is it
academic
interesting on
level.
an academic level? You can't say anime is interesting on an academic level. You're not reading a fucking textbook.
Well, we both watched Angel's Egg. Angel's Egg is...
Some time ago.
Oh, yeah, some time ago as well. But Oshii, that's a very Oshii film.
It's like the archetypal Oshii
Where
film.
No one would say that is a fun movie. That is a very boring
There must be someone that enjoys
nothing
it.
happens.
Do you think he made it for it to be boring?
Yes, he does. I was going to bring up there was an interview between him and I think Nishio-san, which is Monogatari, because they have similar styles but completely different at the same time. But the interview was about how Nishio-san accused Oshii of his movies being boring and people falling asleep. And Oshii was like, "Good, I'm glad you think that way. I meant because when you fall asleep, you're getting into the rhythm of the film. You're so in rhythm with the film that you know you kind of so in tune with it that you just fall asleep."
That's fucking bollocks. I bet someone on 4chan just edited that. I don't believe that's true.
Possibly. But you can't prove that, and I don't believe that it's true.
Oh shit! Do we hear my evidence? My evidence is that Angel's Egg was actually much better than this because it didn't pretend like something was going on.
Yeah, it did. Lots of things happened.
No, they walked around for like 10 minutes. I actually forgot I had the movie running because I tabbed out into different workspaces.
Tabbed out of anime?
Yeah, I was like, I was going to quickly Google something and I kept Googling stuff and I just heard music in the background. I just thought I was listening to music on my computer, but no. Angel's Egg was playing in the background and I was not watching it. So I had to come back to it and
So you didn't really watch Angel's Egg?
It was like 10 minutes of it and nothing actually happened. I didn't actually miss anything. I was just wandering around with the egg for a while. I don't think I missed anything at least. Did I miss anything?
I have no idea. I don't know which bit it was.
The beginning bit. It was like after 5 minutes.
She wanders around with the egg a bit. You guys look at the city.
Yeah, she sees the city and then she like gets.
Did you see the cool tank bit?
Yeah.
Still a cool fish bit?
Well, the fish bit was the best bit.
That was a good bit.
They're fishing at shadows, which is cool.
Good film, see? Even if it was boring. Patlabor is kind of the same, except it's more boring.
No, I think it has
less interesting.
It has a cool aesthetic, but it doesn't have as cool an aesthetic as Angel's Egg. That's for one thing, and it doesn't have as much interesting metaphor as Angel's Egg does. Because I think the metaphor is what you keep having to process in your head, digest in your head, and that's what makes it interesting.
The interesting thing about Oshii's film is the idea behind him rather than the film itself. This is like one thing I was thinking about watching this is that it's obviously kind of a prototype for Ghost in the Shell, which came out 5 or so years later. Like it's kind of going over the same kind of themes. It's in the same kind of setting. But but it feels weird. As it's like trying to do comedy, it's not funny, or it's trying to do some weird action
and the
thing.
character's
It's
so
like,
annoying. She's acting like a 5-year-old little girl in the background. Like, what are you doing? What is
we
your
haven't
game?
worked out what the main character is yet.
No, and we can't recognise the main character because he's got such a bland, like, background character.
Because you're not looking at the film.
I wasn't looking at the film. I kept tagging out. I couldn't actually focus on the film because I kept just being distracted.
Mm-hmm. How many times did we pause this film in the 30 minutes we watched it? Like half a dozen times.
Yeah, but like, I even when I was watching it, I kept tagging out and not looking at it because it just didn't hold my interest. I feel like a film, even if it is academic, if it's interesting academically, it will hold your interest. But it didn't hold my interest academically, and it didn't hold my interest as being an interesting piece of media.
It's not really holding my interest either, but it is. But at the same time, it is interesting. I'm finding it interesting.
If it's not holding your interest, isn't that the definition of it being interesting? Is to hold your interest?
Yes, but it's interesting, kind of.
So you just
from an academic level, but it's not holding my interest though.
If it's interesting on an academic level, it'll hold your interest. That's what. If it holds your interest, that's what it means to be interesting.
Well,
me.
But it's not true though, isn't it?
It is.
So you're reading something really interesting, but it's not holding your interest. That can happen. Like something that's fucking boring.
If it can be boring to you in that moment, but if it's interesting overall, like as a concept, then you're going to have your attention held. Like if I'm in a chemistry lecture, I'm interested in chemistry, so my attention is held during that lecture. If I was in a lecture for something I wasn't interested in, then it would not be holding my interest.
You've never been bored by a lecture, but also find the content interesting?
No.
I don't believe you.
Can't just say that. That's my evidence. You can't just undermine my evidence like this.
I have.
No, if I'm bored by the content, I will be bored.
I can be bored by the content, but then think about the content more. I'm like, that's actually interesting.
Yeah, but then they were presenting it. Then they were presenting it in a boring way.
Maybe Oshii films are presented in a very boring way.
Okay, so.
I'm not saying they're the perfect films. I'm just saying they are very interesting. There's a reason he's like a critically acclaimed one, rather than like a popular director.
Yeah.
People who if you think about him for long enough, you'll find him interesting.
I feel like
on a surface level, they aren't particularly.
It's like often one of
Gits is okay because it is it's got cool action and shit, and like the aesthetic is very appealing to a lot of people.
But
even that is not the most interesting film. It's not like Akira is very interesting. And visually.
It's very interesting visually, very interesting thematically, and very interesting just to watch, even if you're not paying attention to any of that stuff.
Akira,
it works on all three levels.
Yeah. Akira has kind of the same kind of genre of film in what it's trying to portray. It's kind of doing the same kind of thing. But Akira is much more visually appealing and kind of aesthetically appealing, directly. So you can enjoy it without thinking any more than you have to.
But there's still plenty to think about Akira. It's still thematically appealing to a greater extent than Gits or this.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just better.
Akira is a better film in every direction, but that's not saying Oshii films aren't good.
That's true. Akira is a very high benchmark. It is the best film ever made, after all.
It's pretty good.
What's the best film ever made, James?
I'm not gonna say. I don't know.
I feel like the moment you say, the moment I'll shit on it.
Exactly. I don't know. I'd have to actually think about that for a while.
I'm surprised you haven't thought about it before. It was like one of those things you got to have a top 3 of. Got to make the lists.
I have a top 100.
It's a bit too much. What's the highest movie on that list?
I made it too many years ago, so I'm not going to say.
Embarrassing. Well, it's almost
End of Ava was second.
Was second?
On my phone, yeah.
Second film?
It was my second favourite film, yeah.
So evidently you know your favourite film.
Oh, at the time, 3 years ago, my favourite film was the third Rocky film.
Oh, films overall?
Yes.
Okay. Just thinking about anime films.
Oh, anime films.
So then End of Ava was your favourite anime film?
End of Ava was my favourite anime film.
That's
probably still one of my top ones. But I hadn't watched so many anime films back then, so I don't know. 3 years ago,
I feel like anime films are, at least a lot of anime films are older, and I feel like a lot of them you get into later on in your anime watching career. It's just, you just don't, you start off with all the newer stuff, then you move into the older stuff.
Well, there's far fewer movies right now. There's a couple big directors making it, but back in kind of the 80s and 90s, that was kind of how you got things funded more. TV shows were much less common. Things like OVAs and movies were much more popular. But now we've kind of moved to most anime movies are tie-ins to other things. They were back then as well, but now almost exclusively US is making films. Who else is making films?
Shinkai. It's just Shinkai and
Shinkai's a fucking hack.
Did you say USA?
Yeah.
Yeah, USA Shinkai. Isn't that it?
That's basically it. Colorado
Some Ghibli every now and then. That's about everything.
Colorado made Penguin Highway last year. That was good.
That Penguin Highway is a very good movie.
making films still.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think.
I don't know. Has he announced anything else recently?
He made Mirai, right?
Yeah.
He made that.
It's okay. Anything? Has he announced anything recently? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think the big names, the amount of big names in people's heads stays the same. The quality of them can scale with how many quality ones there are, but it'll always be like, even if there's all of them are shit, there'll still be some big ones.
Well, at the end of the day, it's all about like the expectation the viewers have on the quality of the product. I feel like in the 80s there was a much more competitive for anime. Well, in part because there's so much more money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of the dynamic of how things work in the anime industry has kind of changed a lot. Definitely since the 80s specifically.
Funding wise, yeah.
Yeah, with funding wise, it's kind of now everything has to be the 12 episode anime. A lot of them, they have to be like saleable to a specific audience rather than kind of trying to do something weird or trying to do something niche or even trying to do something kind of more general, like trying to make a film that's for the masses is very rare in anime now. But you got 80s films like Akira wasn't just an anime film, it was a film.
I'll say same with Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell's another one. But you get them like Ghibli films, they're not coming out anymore. Hosta films.
What do you mean that the Ghibli films aren't coming out? There's some making Ghibli films.
They aren't coming out. With Ghibli's like not really making anything more. What's the last Ghibli film they made?
Can't remember. They made that
Miyazaki's
that one no one watched.
Retired large body years.
Yeah.
When was the last film that was actually is shown in cinemas properly?
I don't know. They made that one.
The Ghibli films used to be, but like what one?
Oh, I can't remember the name. I don't remember. I guess after Miyazaki, it's just never Ghibli as a franchise has never been as powerful.
Okay, what's the next topic? Let's talk about piracy.
Let's talk about piracy anime.
Let's talk about piracy. Piracy's fine.
Yeah.
That's how anime works. And if you think that piracy is incorrect, sure. In the West, is definitely almost entirely linchpinned on piracy and piracy of anime in every facet of it.
People wouldn't start watching anime if it wasn't for the ability to pirate it.
The vast majority of people, I don't know now, I don't know whether people are coming in now, but the vast majority of people, like a couple of years ago, they watched pirated anime is how you watch anime.
Yeah.
Now you can kind of get away with watching Crunchyroll, I guess.
Or Netflix. Most people get into Netflix and Amazon.
I don't believe you, but I think you're true. I think you're
don't
right.
Believe me. Like I know people who have started watching anime through Netflix.
I don't want to believe you then.
Think about piracy. This is it. Basically. It's as if every one of your friends has an anime disc.
A different anime disc.
Different anime disc. It's like then you have like a commune, a friendship group of anime fans, and you go around each of their houses watching their anime disc. Like if you had loads of people around your house watching an anime disc, that'd be absolutely fine. No one would have a problem with that. But if everyone had an anime disc and you always went around their house to go watch it, that's basically anime piracy. There's a copy of the disc online, and you're just sharing the content.
Mm-hmm.
But and there's nothing against that.
What about though? So when you download an anime, you have another copy of it. So you have a copy as well. And now you can share it with your other friends. It's more of an explosive kind of arrangement than the one you're describing.
And the majority of,
as in, you're wrong. Dispute me.
What do you say?
So your idea is everyone has one anime DVD.
Yeah.
But when you pirate, you now have a copy as well. So now you can.
Not necessarily. It depends if you torrent or you stream.
Well, streaming's not real.
That's a hot take. Usually.
I mean, how many people actually stream?
Far more people than people who torrent. Obviously. Get out of your fucking fortune bubble.
I forgot that streaming was really a thing. Carry on.
What was I even saying? Most of the money made on anime is not made in Blu-ray sales. Most of the money is made on merch. And the more people you get to watch your show, the more people who's going to buy your merch.
Well, it's made on merch and licensing. A lot of money has already been paid for that anime by when they're already licensed it. Like, the TV companies pay a fuck ton up front for the anime, and then they know that they're going to get it back in ads and whatever they do in Japan.
And that's completely irrelevant to the anime industry in the West. This is just in Japan. The West is like an afterthought. We don't actually need the West, any companies in the West, to distribute anime at all. Mm-hmm. Dubs don't need to exist. We just need fan subs, and that's it. And we don't actually need all these companies like Crunchyroll and whatnot. And Funimation. They can just wither off like a vestige.
Sometimes it's nice. We get things like screenings in cinemas and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like having DVDs.
But is it worth
on them?
Yeah. But firstly they can send subs on their own, make your own DVDs. You might make your own DVDs.
Yeah.
It's not the same, but you can do it if you really want a DVD.
I mean, I've done it myself before. Yeah. Okay, why are people against piracy then? So
it's ruining the industry.
A lot of it's like you're not paying the people who make it. That, I mean, true.
People always
are not paying. Yeah. But okay, how do they watch in Japan? They watch on TV. Like they're just paying the TV company, like paying the TV license to watch the TV in Japan. They're not really paying directly for the anime in a way.
Yeah.
Even in Japan, most of the money comes from Blu-rays or whatever the fuck.
Various streams. But I mean, it's the whole like theft argument that you wouldn't steal a car, lol. People always try to attribute that to media, but that's just kind of a dumb assumption because they're not losing anything. When you steal a packet of crisps from a shop, they're unable to sell that packet of crisps to anyone else. But if you steal a piece of property, then they have just as many discs. They have not discs, but they have just as many copies of that movie that can be shown. So they're not actually losing anything. If you were unable to pirate it, it's a very high chance you would have never watched it in the first place. I would never got into anime had I not been able to pirate it in the first place.
Mm-hmm. But what would they say to kind of if you pirate it, then after you've pirated it, you'll never buy it?
Forrest could buy the disc. Mm-hmm. Maybe not me specifically, but many people will. Mm-hmm. Especially people in Japan. Which might add, there's a thing in Japan now where people are buying discs from the West and then bring them over to Japan because they're sold cheaper in the West. So if anything, distribution in the West is hurting the anime industry in the amount of money they can make.
Well, it's just because in Japan, kind of Blu-rays are kind of seen as a product that only the diehard fans would buy. They're very, very expensive.
Yeah.
But over here, they're 5 times cheaper. So the back import is a thing that like they're trying to put like big tariffs and stuff on it just to stop that thing happening. And weirdly, manga is the exact opposite. In Japan, manga is nothing. It costs like £1 or £2 to buy a volume of manga. But over here, they all cost the same as a real book, which is like £6 or £7. Not that there's much back import from Japan to here because the cost is too much. But it is a cheap way to get manga if you want to.
Cool. Well, piracy is fun. You should pirate more.
The people around piracy are the people who kind of make the West, like the Western anime community, kind of take over. Like all these big companies. Well, all of the newer big companies like Crunchyroll and kind of My Anime is now sticking their feet in for some reason. But all of these big companies, like they're built on the backs of kind of fan subbers and pirates or whatever. So and a lot of dub actors from subgroups and from weird like internet things like who are the Dragon Ball guys? Team 4 Star. Team 4 Star like are now like doing like official stuff when they're like obviously their gig is doing comedic dubs over like pirated anime. So like, as long as you can deny it, pirating and kind of the piracy culture built the Western anime community, and kind of I feel like rejecting that it's like biting the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back! Get up, full of energy, ready to rumble, boys.
Okay.
So where were we?
Piracy. Okay, so the reason we're talking about piracy in the first place
is my household.
Is Nick's household was making some points about because he's very anti-piracy, like a lot of people are. A lot of old men are very anti-piracy.
He's a very old man.
He is. And what was the point he made? The point he made was that it's against the law, so therefore it's wrong. This point is retarded, and I think even he knows it's retarded.
I don't know, he never outwardly said it was retarded. I think he just might be a bit retarded not to realise it's retarded.
Well, it's a very dramatic mindset, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a very dramatic mindset. If you base your morality on the law, that's just wrong. You can't do that.
I mean, okay. Well, first of all, where did the law come from?
Comes from the government.
Do they just think about nowhere? And that's just
as far as I know, it doesn't like the current government. So I don't know how he can believe that the law can come from them.
That's true. I've got to say that some of the other people in the conversation had points. What should we call them? The Shadow Household. The Shadow Household brought us some good points. They were saying things like kind of the way traditional media works in the West is kind of entirely based on people buying the stuff. Piracy in the West punishes the creators a lot more because that's kind of the market they're doing in. Like films, if you don't pirate the film and you watch it on fucking Facebook or whatever people do, if instead of like going to the cinema and watching it or buying the DVD and watching it, that directly punishes them because that is their bottom line. Like in Japan, the bottom line is how many figures they sell, how much like deals they can do, how much event things they do. I don't know what they do.
Because they're using a different metric at the end of the day. They're after a different audience. They're after the otaku audience, unless it's like a much more holistic film. They're looking for a much greater audience, but usually isn't the case. Usually they're looking for otaku audiences who are in this business model of buying figures and Blu-rays and whatnot. It's not about the actual people buying the discs.
And it's also not like in Japan there's no piracy. Japan, in piracy is kind of part of the course because you watch it on TV legally, and then you just kind of want to watch it again. So you pirate it. I guess so. Back in the 80s, yeah. But it is, although it is cracked down a lot more in Japan. People get punished for it a lot more.
But Japan just don't need the West to make media.
No, that's
true. That's the bottom line.
That's true.
And I think just employing our Western standards on Japanese media, I mean, this is just a side argument, employing our standards on a different medium is just wrong.
Do you think it's morally wrong? Do you think they're being immoral by buying anime? By
the West?
Things? Yeah.
Are we being immoral by buying it? Probably not. But I think it's immoral
maybe
to not buy it.
Who are you paying when you really buy an anime? When you buy like a Crunchyroll, you're paying Crunchyroll. You're not paying the studios or the animators or whoever. You're paying Crunchyroll. They, in turn, give money back to the production company, which then give money to the studio, which then might give money to the animators. There's such a long chain, and we're so far away that the money, you don't know where it's gone. It's kind of giving to a charity. You never know really where it's gone.
Yeah. But I feel like the whole the idea behind paying the people who made the content has never been the case. Whether it be movies, whether it be anything, always half the profit's going to go to the cinema, half the profit's going to the production company. Mm-hmm. Only bits and pieces of it trickle down to the actual people making it, the artists, the actors, if it was in what movie. I think that argument's quite trite, because, I mean, it's just never been the case. I feel like it's a modern thing where we're so connected with our YouTubers that we want to have the Patreon for Trigger and that not.
Patreon for Trigger is a good idea. People shit on the Patreon for Trigger. I'm like,
it's
you're
free
retarded.
Money. It's free
You're
money.
just giving them money. How is it a bad thing?
Obviously, it's not a bad thing, but I feel like it's not the business model by which large-scale media like this should be made. It should be. This is a side thing, but mainly it's for YouTubers where it's one guy who wants to make money and makes all his money from Patreon, like Digibro or something.
But also, they obviously don't mind about piracy either, because it's not like they're suffering. Anime has made a resurgence and it's not like we stopped pirating things.
No, if anything, it's getting greater most likely because there are more people watching.
Of course, there's just a far higher number of people watching, mainly through pirating services.
There's the percentage of people that are buying it legally is probably increasing, but the percentage of people who are actually watching anime is increasing at a greater rate, most likely.
But one thing I do think is people who are pirating but don't really know what they're pirating don't bring anything good to the industry or the community. But people pirating with the purposeful you go into you find the outlets, behind the fan subbers, you do the proper torrenting and everything. People like that indirectly will be benefiting the industry, the community around them, because they're promoting it, they're building the community around it. People get into anime because other people are into anime. No one really gets into anime in a bubble.
Yeah, but surely by streaming you can get into anime. People don't get into anime. Someone suggests it to them, but they've got to find anime for themselves. They don't just watch anime other people have told them to watch. In order to become a big fan, this kind of person that torrents, people don't start out torrenting, they start out streaming, only to become the person that Exactly. Did you start torrenting from day one?
Yes, I did, because I was on Newgrounds. Newgrounds was already really autistic. But yeah, I feel like that's what most people do. Most people start, but I feel like the stopping the reluctance to go any further than streaming is harmful to your own enjoyment of the medium. Because you don't push yourself any further with the thing. A lot of people are really into anime, but only watch seasonal stuff. They don't watch streaming stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
They watch Kiss Anime Recommended. That's to someone.
Well, I mean,
a friend who just watched those. Like, what are you doing? What even is that?
People can find anime wherever they want. Honestly, if they're enjoying it, then that's fine.
No, wrong. They have to do it right.
What? No. Why does it make a difference to you?
It does make a difference to me, though. This kind of culture of trying to make it more of a legitimate industry in the West. Building these big international corporations like Netflix, they're integrating anime with all this stuff. That's destroying the old Western anime community as it existed. Fansubs are dead. Scanlations are dying. The old vanguard of anime are being thrown aside because they aren't legally in the right, but they are morally in the right.
Yeah, but isn't that... I think that's more the problem of companies like Crunchyroll existing. If there was no anime infrastructure in the West, then we'd never have the problem of scanlations and subbers dying. But I feel like it's not something you can reverse, unfortunately. I think they're here to stay.
But I'm just saying that as someone who grew up in that community and owes a lot to that community, it's almost my duty to keep it going.
Yeah.
I'm into the community as much as I'm into the anime community. You're throwing away people because they're doing something legally wrong. It feels dirty.
Well, it may be legally wrong, but doesn't mean it's ethically wrong, as you pointed out before.
It's interesting topic.
What about season anime? What's the season anime at the moment?
What's coming out? Not much.
Dumbbell's good.
Dumbbell is good. Dumbbell's probably the best one.
Yeah, probably.
Should we bring up a list?
Look at this and go a thorough rundown of every season of anime this season.
Let's not do that, but just to pick out some of the...
Thorough.
Okay.
Dr. Stone.
Dr. Stone
is shit. It's so shit. And Digibro likes it.
Dr. Stone it just feels like a shitty Shonen Jump manga. That's it. It's just a Shonen Jump manga. It's not like subversive. It's not like doing something different. It just is retarded, and it has like weird science bits in it, which is it's so
inane. It's so basic.
The science in Dr. Stones sounds like a science is fun kind of Facebook group.
Sounds like it's Neil deGrasse Tyson doing all the science.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's like a pop scientist guy on the TV telling you stupid stuff about science.
Oh, you
half of it's like barely true, and also half of it doesn't matter because the entire plot is fantasy.
Yeah, the main plot is boring as well. The characters are so annoying. Every character's always like saying they're very archetypal characters, but in a bad way. It's almost like they're all the worst parts. They've got their little talking tics that are just. They're the kind that wind you up, not the kind that like endears you to the characters. Like whenever he goes like, "Oh, 1,000,000% lol," and I'm like, "Shut up!"
You know what's really smart though?
What's really
I do really like this sort of show. When he reminds himself that science is real by writing E = MC squared on his jacket. That's really good. In his own blood. That's it's pretty hardcore.
He lives by that.
That was like, wow, that's deep. When I saw E = MC squared, like science is real, guys.
But the plot's just so dumb. He's like, oh yes, I'm gonna make sure he hits me in the back of the neck where my piece of stone still is, which he hasn't realised is. Come on, man, you can't do that.
It's pretty
so
stupid.
Dumb.
Why do people like it? Let's try and work out why people like it.
Why people like it? For Digimon is a specific case. He likes it because it's like Log Horizon. He just likes to nut to that idea of starting a civilization from scratch.
The normal isekai, kind of the SAO archetype, is kind of an MMO. It's kind of an MMO but an anime. What Dr. Stone is, and Log Horizon, and kind of Slime was before, they're all kind of Civ 5, but in anime. It's the same kind of idea, but it's a different game. They're just kind of taking the gamification kind of aspect of it, the core aspect of the games that make it fun, trying to turn it into anime. I quite like Slime. You didn't like Slime.
No, Slime's kind of
Slime was pretty.
It's too slow for me.
It was like 4 out of 10. It was pretty good. Yeah, Dr. Stone's shit. I don't think we have anything to say because we both think it's bad.
Yeah, the shouting's annoying. It feels very Shonen Jumpy. Yeah. It's like very bad.
People are saying that it's like doing something deeper than a Shonen Jump does. Feels like a Shonen Jump. Feels like Hero Academia. It just feels like...
Hero Academia feels like it's doing something deeper than this.
Well, Hero Academia is just doing it straight and quite well. This one's doing it pretending not to doing it straight, but they are doing it straight. And just kind of boring. But it tries to be deep by throwing jargon at you, which isn't actually it's not particularly jargony, because it's like, I know it. Yeah. I didn't do like, I did A-level physics, that's as high as I went, I know all this shit, this is like GCSE stuff.
Yeah, but it also has that thing where it's like, it's the main character and the dude who punched the fucking line. These two dudes are like trying to outplay each other, and they're always like 1,000 steps ahead. It reminds me a lot of I'm a big Defective Conan fan. Defective Conan is very good, but it reminds me of that. They didn't really think it out. They just came up with the excuses they went along as if they didn't actually think all this stuff ahead. It doesn't feel realistic in that sense at all.
But it's all according to Keikaku.
It's all according to Keikaku, and it pisses me off.
That's very annoying. But
it's not done in the clever way.
I'm guessing it would be fun if you were 12 and you didn't understand the science and you were like, cool, E = MC squared. I know what that is, right? That's science. Next one!
Fire Force! I haven't seen the last episode since... Yeah.
I don't know if I have. Yeah, I think I did.
It was like a week ago. I still haven't seen it.
Fire Force is good.
It's good. It's made by all the it's directed by an ex-Shaft employee from the big Exodus from what we hear.
It's kind of meta interesting, where the Shaft obviously had big problems, everyone was leaving. I don't really know why.
The Fate movie was so shit that
yeah, they decided to do something Fate, and everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing? Fate? What do you mean? Fate's an anime. It's a mobile game. What are you doing? So they've all gone to David Production, apparently.
Very interesting.
And it's weird. It's not... I feel like they haven't quite found their feet yet. It's... the humour's weird and off.
Yeah, the humour does feel... Some of the humour hits, but a lot of it is weird, edgy stuff, which from when I asked a friend, apparently that is in the manga. A lot of this... Especially in, I think it was the 3rd episode, the one that was delayed after the Kyoani fire. They had a lot of weird, etchy scenes that really felt out of place.
3rd episode was really bad. I was like, oh no.
There was some nice animation.
Well, I've read the first couple chapters of the manga when it was like originally coming out many years ago, and so I know what's happening. It feels very close to the plot, but at the same time kind of being a bit weird. Like it's not quite hitting the same beats in the same kind of way. The big kind of climaxes don't feel as good in the anime. But I feel like that's a classic kind of, if you read the manga, the anime will feel shit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of warped my perception of it a bit.
But it has been visually enticing. The animation is very good. The character designs are interesting.
I think visually it's probably the best thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's got that kind of like Shimbo-esque, interesting shot composition.
Obviously, the director was like some kind of Shimbo acolyte. Like, there's 1,001 of them.
Yeah, all the wide panning shots, all of the facial close-ups. I love Shimbo, and there's no like panning shots. Panning shots are just bad.
Okay.
I'm fundamentally against panning shots.
All right. I like the cool setting. They're in some kind of Neo-Meiji era, Taisho era, Japan, Tokyo thing. It's cool.
I was hoping they were going to be more like oblique and not telling us as much about the setting, but then at the end of episode 3 they were like, let's just have a quick exposition dump about all the different sections.
There's quite a lot of exposition dumps.
And at the beginning of episode 3 was an exposition dump.
Exposition dumps are very shafty. Because Shaft does expedition dumps, but they pretend they're not doing it. They're quite good at that. They kind of just have a fuck ton. You finish an episode of Shaft show, wow, that was interesting and visually interesting, but then you realise, he was just talking the entire time. Kind of a lot of exposition dumps.
I was like, Monogatari is just exposition dumps.
Monogatari is really boring. I feel really boring.
I love it.
Should we talk about Soul Taker? We're watching Soul Taker. Soul Taker is another...
Soul Taker is...
I don't think it's a Shaft show though, right? It's
who was it?
Tatsunoko,
that was it. But if you think about, every director has like their ultimate show, which is the epitome of who they are. Let's say who we're talking about earlier? Oshi. The epitome of Oshi is Angel's Egg. And then the epitome of...
Like, the epitome is almost too much. Like,
it is too much.
You're going too far with your weird little sign.
I can't remember anyone's name. Who's that, the guy next to...
Ano?
No, the other one.
Yamaga.
The other one.
Imaishi?
Imaishi. His epitome was... What's the
Jesus Christ.
I can't remember words. What's it called? The drill...
Gurren Lagann?
No, the other one.
Other drill anime.
The one that you didn't like. Which was cool.
Dead Leaves?
Dead Leaves. That was his epitome.
That was fucking boring.
Dead Leaves was cool.
Imaishi. I don't think I even like Imaishi
anymore. Don't you? Why?
I feel like I like Imaishi if he's kind of restrained. He's like
What's what I'm saying?
Lucas. He needs like someone holding him back. Gurren Lagann, amazing. Kill la Kill, great. Also, kind of the same thing, but both great. But the things he does when he's like got full reign, it just becomes impossible to pass, boring, weird action. And it doesn't even feel like anime anymore. I don't like it.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like the epitome of him. This is like his apex for both of those. And I feel like for Shimbo, that is Soul Taker. Fucking crosses in every shot composition. Just nonsensical colour palettes, changing every shot. There's a different colour palette.
Okay, that's the first scene of Soul Taker. Is the main character is watching his mother die in a pool of her own blood in a weird cathedral with the weird lighting coming through the stained glass. So everything's bright red or black. He then like makes the Shimbo face and looks over his shoulder. His mother then stabs him in the stomach, and he goes, "Whoa!" And there's some and then there's a weird blackout, but then there's still more exposition in the blackout, and then we instantly go to some other weird exposition with another guy we don't know. It's very, very Shimbo.
Very strange.
It feels like
there's no exposition and no explanation.
Like there's no real a lot of filmography is about continuity. Like you understand going from this scene to this scene, going to this scene to this scene, whatever. This is obviously kind of playing on the fact that it just isn't. Doesn't
bits and bobs are going on and
don't make any
sense.
It's almost like what they're talking about and what's happening on the screen are like unrelated. Sometimes it seems to be you see one scene, they're talking about something, they carry on the conversation, but now it's 2 weeks later, but there was no transition.
But
at the same time, I really enjoy it. I really like it.
Well, it was decent. I feel like it works very much as an interesting thematic thing, and it's very beautiful to watch. The animation is actually quite high quality for like a show that's airing that is very out there. There's nothing really quite like it in its style. And I really like the colour palettes. It has this kind of washed out aesthetic, but there's a lot of three primary colours. They had like yellow, red, blue. They're the primary colours. They kept having interesting scenes where they're just painted in those colours with different shades of those colours, and it just looks very visually appealing. It's fun to watch, even if you don't understand what's going on. It's
very good. It feels like some kind of anime archetype that I've seen other shows that are like it, but I can't really put my finger on it. It feels like kind of like a weird gothic vampire show. So much of that mixed with weird anime that it's I think it is a lot like Monogatari, I guess. Like, it has kind of the weird stuff going on, but at the same time, there's, like, weird moe shit happening.
Yeah.
With the best character, Kamugi. Kamugi is the best.
The interesting backstory behind all this is that we watched Kamugi-chan before we watched this, and that's why we watched Soul Taker.
We wanted to watch a Kyoto animation thing, which we hadn't seen before. There's not many of them, so we decided to watch Kamugi-chan, which is, like, a weird OVA, like, magical girl thing.
And only the first 2 episodes were even made by Kirani.
Yeah, so the rest of it was...
The rest of it was interesting.
But, like,
it just got really batshit.
But on, like, episode, like, 3, we, like, read the credits for it, and it was made by Soul Taker Productions. So, and we worked out that it is, in fact, a spin-off of the characters from Soul Taker, which there was not evident at all. We kind of understood exactly what was going on. I'm not sure... And they don't really have anything to do with the characters in Soul Taker.
The personalities are different, but I think their interpersonal relationships are similar, kind of. I'm not really sure. I don't think so. I think some of them is the case.
They just put the same faces in the completely different show. Kamugi-chan is good.
The first 2 episodes were amazing. The last 2 episodes were just batshit crazy. It made very little sense. It's one of those... This is why people think anime is weird animes.
It felt like... you said this. It felt like an anime that is inside an anime. There was like an anime that inside anime they like parody on this weird this weird magical show that they all enjoy in the anime.
It reminded me a lot of that scene, that section from Yuri Yuri where they had like the dumb machine that got his bones crushed. It was like that magical girl anime within Yuri Yuri. It reminds me a lot of that, and it's just ridiculous and it's quite funny.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were both directed by Yasuhiro. Rest in peace. So that's why we kind of watched it. But it's like so weird and so kind of ingrained in the culture of its time where even like we didn't understand what was going on.
There's a lot of references.
The references were like over the head. They were like too much some of the time.
A lot of them were quite old references as well.
Well, no, they were references of the time. They were kind of like because this came out in like 2001, 2002 or whatever, and kind of the seasonal anime of the time is just gone. We don't remember that anymore.
It's part of the bits that have just been washed away by the waves. It's not like the larger rocks which haven't been washed back.
Yeah.
They're left on the beaches.
Very much of its time. But it's interesting kind of trying to work out what was going on and trying to work out the references.
Well, there was one reference to like an 80s OVA which I'd seen. And I was like, wow, that's quite an obscure one. How did you get that in? A lot of them, I don't think they were all just references at the time. A lot of them were very, very obscure.
They're probably specific to whoever was making it, right?
Yeah.
Gatchaman. Gatchaman was referenced a couple times, which is a Tatsunoko thing.
I guess it is Shimburesque. I mean, a lot of shaft shows like Pani Pony and Zetsubou Sensei are just chock full of references to other things. It's that kind of tradition almost that carries on into other works. Because it was a Soul Taker production productions committee, whatever that means, that made it, so it's probably similar people who worked with Shimbu who went on to move to Shaft and whatnot.
I'd guess so. I don't really know exactly
it's probably similar
the
stuff.
history of all the staff on fucking Kamugi-chan. But it's good, you should watch it. It's probably recommended higher than Soul Taker. In
retrospect, we should watch some of Soul Taker first, and then maybe some of the gags would have hit harder, because then it's like, it's the characters from the Deep Edgy show that are in this light-hearted, magical girl, nonsensical show. So that may be a better way to watch it.
Still understood it. Still find it funny.
It's still very funny without Soul Taker. If either of the genres aren't up your street, go for one of them.
Okay. Now let's try and reverse some of the weird side bits that we went down. Let's just go back to this. Vinland Saga. Have you watched any Vinland Saga?
I watched like 3 episodes and haven't got around to watching it again.
Well, Vinland Saga, the 3 episodes came out all at once, right?
Yeah. And
is that like a Netflix thing?
I don't think so.
It feels like a Netflix thing.
It sounds like it. It looks like the kind of show that'd be on Netflix.
Quite abstracted from the streaming site, so I don't really know if that's probably a Netflix thing.
I mean, the amount of bits I've seen, it looked quite interesting. It looked like quite a slow-burning show. I haven't seen far enough to really have any...
Well, people say that the manga is like a spiritual successor to Berserk, and it does kind of have that like long fantasy adventure kind of feel. But sadly, it's also full of 3D, like the new Berserk was. And the action scenes just look awful.
Yeah.
I like it, how it's very historical.
But they kind of play it up, in the bit that I've seen, they played it up way too much, the historical bit. They're like always repeating the same little facts that they happen to know. Like, it's very like, look, we learned a fact about the Vikings, let's tell it 1,000 times.
Leaf Erikson. Alright.
There's 3 times in like one episode they're like, Vikings bath on Saturdays, lol. And they kept referencing and talking about it. And like, okay, you learned your little fact. Calm down.
Feels like a Netflix show.
Yeah.
Probably won't finish it, but I think it's okay. What's the next one?
Arifureta.
Oh yeah, that's the Cameron show.
We watched...
Did anyone go into the show thinking it was like unironically good?
Probably not.
Okay, good. But it
Is that you, Cameron?
Yeah.
Come here a sec.
Come here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us,
Arifureta, what's like? Give in a sentence. What's like entertaining about it?
Nothing.
Why do you watch it?
Why do you watch it then?
Because it's filler on Mondays.
Okay.
So you just have to watch a certain amount of anime each day, right?
Do you find it? Is there any kind of benefit to it?
I mean, it is trash, so if you want to know why I'm trash...
What are you taping on the door?
Do not enter podcasting session.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Are you going to close the door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Didn't expect to...
Okay, so...
What's your favourite thing about Arifureta?
Isekai.
Bye!
Bye!
Next, Dumbbell. Dumbbell.
No, can I just say one more thing about Arifureta? Is that episode 4... Was that episode 4 that we watched together?
episode 4.
That was a masterpiece. This awful CGI dragon is just monochrome. Oh my... Not monochrome, but just chrome. It was just chrome. It was just very shiny, and it looked disgusting, and it was very funny to watch. Okay, Dumbbell.
Dumbell's good.
Dumbbell's very good. Is Dogokoba not making lolly stuff, which is good?
I also like the lolly stuff. All those stuffs are fine.
Yeah, but I'd prefer it if they didn't make lolly stuff.
Doesn't really push the boat in any kind of way. It's not like the best thing they've ever made. It's not.
It's
the
enjoyable
thing
to
is,
watch.
it feels like someone from a subculture, this time being kind of lifting and that kind of fitness aspect, has made an anime. Is what it feels like. It feels like someone from a fitness forum has just made an anime because it kind of does all the fitness jokes. It does all the kind of you tell there's someone who's really into something. They tell you all the facts about it.
Yeah.
It's one of those basically.
But at the same time, it's like it's a very solid anime. But I feel like a very solid anime needs to do something different. Like every high school anime is usually about some sort of different club, some sort of different interest. And for this time, it's fitness. And I feel like it needs to be something unique for it to be engaging as a show. And I feel like Dumbbell does that very well and doesn't overplay or underplay the fitness aspect, or keep still maintaining.
In what ways
cuteness.
is it unique from others though?
I'd say it's unique in the fact that it has the fitness aspect, and everything else is very solid about it. But it does something different with it. It doesn't always have to do something different with the formula, but just has a different route in which it uses the formula.
Mm-hmm.
And the character designs are all really good and cute, and the exercises at the end are fun. And I like the audience participation and the knowledge that it gives you. I mean, it's not like amazing fitness knowledge. Obviously, you can go on YouTube, but the fusion of knowledge and entertainment is always fun.
I agree. One thing that I definitely noticed from it is that, I've some friends who are like into fitness and stuff, and this show gives off the same vibes. It's kind of hard to explain, but when you watch the show, you get into fitness in the same way. You can feel that energy, the same energy of someone who's into it. Like it feels like a show made for and by those kind of people.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like you're really getting like an
that
insider view
friendliness?
into kind of the another subculture that I'm not really a part of.
Or is that friendliness of people who do fitness who are really positive, and like I know people that are into fitness and they're all really positive. It's almost like they don't care so much about the happenings of the world because they're almost so contented by the fact that they're doing all this exercise, boosting endorphins, feeling good off of it. It puts you in a different frame of mind, and that's the kind of feeling that you get from Dumbbell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's next? I don't know what that is. Oh, that's Okaa-san.
Isekai.
Trash. It's good.
Is it?
No.
Okay,
it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. There are some fun bits from it. It's a dumb isekai undermining. It's like, oh, we're doing something different. It's the new phase of not even that new.
That's like every isekai now.
It's like, let's do something dumb with an isekai and make it into a comedy. It's kind of funny. It has a different spin. It's like he has a difficult troubles with his mum, but it's fun to watch. It's just trash. So I mean, you shouldn't expect too much of it. Just don't have to watch it. It's fine. Araburu.
Araburu.
It's.
Who's it by?
It's Mari's. What's her name? Not Mari Kondo. The other Mari. Mari Okada.
Yep.
And it feels like a Mari Okada show. Like one of the older ones, but it's very melodramatic. Everyone running off, crying and shit. I haven't gotten that far with it. I'm only on like episode 3. I might watch some more. It's quite dense. It's quite dense to watch.
First episode, it had a Blue Hearts reference in it, which I thought was funny. But then I didn't actually like what was going on. I gave up.
Yeah.
It was fine. I'm not particularly a fan of her stuff.
I'm not really a fan of her stuff, but the sole exception is Hisumasa.
Yeah, Hisumasa.
Hisumasa is amazing.
Hisumasa is very good.
But it doesn't have the same feel as a lot of other shows. I mean, there's obviously times where they do the whole runaway bit, but it has a different feel, Hisumasa.
Like
but this is very much traditional.
The scene when she goes in on a friend and he's having a wank. That that was quite funny. But like, I enjoyed it. But then while she was running, I was like, no, I don't enjoy it. And then I just dropped the show. I don't know. It just wasn't really my thing.
That's fair
But
enough.
it seemed fine.
It's a specific taste, I think.
Kanata no Astra. I've been forced to watch 2 episodes of this by Cameron.
Do you?
Yeah. I've only watched like episode 4 and 5. That's it. But it's teenagers lost in space. Really melodramatic.
Oh, that one.
The main character doesn't do anything, and there was like a weird mystery in the one I was watching, where the mystery was so obvious, and they didn't work it out, that it was just kind of painful. Bad show, don't watch. Next.
There's Sounan Desu Ka. I haven't been I need to catch up on Takagi-san.
Takagi-san.
How's it been?
It's just like the first season.
Sounds good then. I enjoyed the first season of Takagi-san.
Like
It's very lighthearted.
Yeah. High school romance thing. Is it good? I don't know.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah. It is enjoyable.
It's very cute as a USP in the whole like teasing thing.
It was the originator of that like quite large genre now. Although none of it's come to animation yet.
Oh really?
Except for Takagi-san, has it?
I don't know about this large genre. What else have you been reading?
Well, Nagatoro-san is basically the same thing, but better. It's funnier, but it doesn't seem to be getting an anime adaptation. I don't really follow it closely. There's other ones as well, but I don't remember their names, because I only read those 2.
Cool.
Next.
Anything else?
There's one I'm watching.
Oh, which one?
Machikado Mazoku. Is a show, and I don't know what anything's about, because as soon as I put it on, I get bored and don't look at the screen for the entire episode. I don't know what's happening. It seems to be some kind of magical girl thing. It seems to be like Gabriel Dropout, but not. But I don't know. I've watched like 6 episodes of it and don't know what's going on. Next.
Okay.
Tejina-senpai is shit.
It's
like,
knockoff.
It is not
Dagashi
good.
Kashi.
It's like rent-free Dagashi Kashi, but also not funny and like much more fan servicey.
I've seen a bit of it and it just wasn't very entertaining. The jokes weren't that funny. Some of them hit, but most of them missed.
Well, the first episode, I watched it, so that was not funny, and thought it was a full episode, but it was like half an episode. So it must have been so boring that I was like, please let it be over. I then carried on watching like 3 more episodes, but it's still...
It's junk food. It's not that... It's very badly made, but you kind of like... There's some sort of compulsion within you to keep watching a bit more of it and a bit more of it. Sounan Desu Ka, on the other hand, is a very good anime, and I'm enjoying that.
I didn't even know you liked it. Sounan Desu Ka is good. I really like Sounan Desu Ka.
It's... classic 4 girls, only they're stranded on an island. I mean, it's the classic, like, let's undermine the basic formula and make it a bit more interesting. But that's good. If you undermine it in an interesting way and it's done well, that's a good thing.
But I think I like it's very similar to Dumbbell. Like, someone who's into a thing, and through the medium of 4 cute girls, is telling you about the thing.
Yes.
It's the same, it's not as polished, it's not as polished, and it's not as good as Dumbbell. But it's a similar show, and it's about something that I personally find more interesting. Like kind of the survival, kind of outdoorsy, like bushwhacking kind of thing.
Well, it's very much I've been watching Bear Grylls for a while. I've been watching, I think it was Ed Stafford. He had a really interesting series on this kind of thing, and you get all this survival knowledge. You're like, where am I ever going to use this? You got to like be stranded somewhere to use your survival knowledge. So the beauty of the show is that this girl who's previously been quiet and never really been part of her class and she doesn't get along with other people, doesn't understand the other people, finally has an outlet to use her talents, and that's beautiful.
She's doing things which I've literally already done. Like things like she does something and then everyone goes, ooh, that's a weird thing to do. I'm like, yeah. That's kind of the weird kind of, haha, yeah, I know this outdoor fact that you don't.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the one who's inside on some of these things. Because like, especially there was like a trapping episode where they were like trying to catch rabbits and shit. I don't know all this stuff. I've done it before and things. But I feel like I could like self-insert into the character telling everyone about it. It was interesting kind of difference, because normally they're about things that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, and I feel like they get the perfect balance between the other characters feeling despondent and like trapped and like, oh no, we're trapped in this desert island, and the other bit being cutesy and moe, and
I feel like
they get a good balance there.
I feel like they don't go much into the oh no, I'm trapped in a desert island. They all seem to be okay
but
with
they shouldn't go too much into that, because that would like ruin the whole balance. I feel like they only have to do it slightly and like, oh no, she broke down crying, and like, oh no, but they do it in a jokey comedic way and they get the tone well.
Just also on the record, Bear Grylls is shit.
Bear Grylls is a fraud. He goes into like hotels
He's a huge
and shit.
fraud. If you want to watch someone, watch fucking Ray Mears.
Watch Ed Stafford.
I don't know who he is, but watch Ray Mears.
Stafford. Ray Mears. Fuck off.
Ray Mears is an actual outdoor guy. You can tell that he's fat.
He looks like the archetypal. I've been in Boy Scouts since I was like 3.
Yeah, that's what he is. He's probably the best man that exists. He's better than
Ed Stafford is amazing. He did this series called Naked and Marooned, where he was literally on a desert island with only a cam kit, and that's all he did for like 60 days. And it was a beautiful series. It's amazing. You should really watch that one. Short piss break. Our bladder was about to burst.
Mine wasn't. Mine was fine.
Mine was painful, man. Sore desu ka. Sounan Desu Ka. Good anime. Good anime.
But we finished talking about that one.
We
now we're going to talk about...
let's talk about Manabi Straight.
Do you remember what we did last week? On the 8th of the 8th, we decided at 8 o'clock, like 15 minutes before...
About 8 minutes past 8.
Yeah. We decided to watch the entire of Endless 8. Because that seems like a sensible thing to do on 8.
Not just watch Endless 8. Well, we're a bit more upmarket than that. We had a beer for each of the 8. Well, we didn't actually because we're fucking lightweights and we died like halfway through.
So the idea was that we'd watch all episodes of Endless 8. That's Haruhi, if you didn't know. And in the opening of each episode, we have to down a bit.
Yeah. We started off strong. We were downing beers, but we didn't carry on.
We finished it. We got to the end.
We got to the end of Endless 8, we didn't get to the end of the 8 beers.
No, didn't go into the end of the beers. 8
beers
is a lot of beers. I got through like 6.
Is it?
I got through like 6 beers.
I got through 6.
That's a lot of beers.
Not for most people. It's interesting because it's like the more muscle mass you have, the more beers you can metabolize. It's also this interesting thing my flatmate was telling me about. He's a bit of a muscle guy, and he was like, the fitter you are.
Is he a macho-san?
He is. He's a
Can
really.
Call him that.
My boy Macho. So my Machioso was telling me about how psychologically the more exercise and weight training you do, the more you like traditional very curvaceous woman. You want more big bum, big boobs woman. Apart from a household who's a bit different. And
household really likes big boobs.
Household really likes big boobs. Household really loves big boobs. But it's almost like I was thinking about this, and it's almost like the opposite. Like the less exercise you do, let's say an anime person, you're more likely to be into lollies because they're less curvaceous. They're like ultra flat.
Oh yeah.
So it's all about like the more masculine you are, the more you like the curvaceousness. But as anime people, we're naturally predisposed to lollies, and we can't help it.
Does that include does it fit specifically or like fat as well?
But not necessarily fat, just voluptuous.
I believe you.
It sounds like something that makes sense, eh?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Okay. So Haruhi is
a good show.
Good show, but Endless 8 is fascinating. How did they get away with it?
They knew that their audience would watch whatever they made, and they decided, let's do the biggest meme possible.
I think that Haruhi from the beginning was kind of like a meme. It was like a troll. There was the way it was released is bizarre. Even the first season of Haruhi, there's no order to watch it in. There's the broadcast order and there's the chronological order. Normally, always broadcast order, chronological is for small-brained Redditors. But even Haruhi, it was broadcast in an order, and then on the DVDs, it was in a different order. But neither order is good, and neither order is even chronological. You can watch it in chronological order, and that order is bad because it doesn't make sense with the story kind of. Broadcast is the best, but there's no cohesive way to watch it where you will understand what's actually going on the entire time.
And then everyone's hyped for season 2, and then season 2 was mostly the same episode over and over.
Well, that was 2007, and then 2 years later they finally made the biggest awaited sequel. Fucking Kirani made out Haruhi was high quality anime, very well animated, especially for 2007 where there's a lot of jank. And it fucking goes straight in to Endless 8, which is 8 of the identically same episode, except it's not because they've animated each one separately.
That's what's so beautiful about it, is they put the effort in. They had different camera angles for each of the shots. They're the same main points of the show. Points that go in. They're slowly getting in. They're slowly understanding what's going on.
But there is actually episode to episode. There is kind of a progression. There's a progression. There's every episode there is different stuff going on. It's not completely the same thing. It's mostly the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what's so cool about it, is that they put more effort than most anime studios would into something that they knew that people would get pissed off about. And it makes
90% of anime don't look as good as the same episode of Endless 8 times.
Yeah. And it's just a beautiful troll at the end of the day. I don't think it has artistic merit in the fact that they did it over and over again, but didn't have artistic merit in a narrative sense. They were just trolling the audience.
But it's a great one to watch while drunk though, because you don't have to pay attention because you know what's going to happen.
You know what's going to happen.
And it's good. You get to see all the different outfits every single episode.
Yeah, you're like
fun.
Bit of a rating each time.
You got to rate each outfit.
So it's fun, but of course it ended in anime karaoke.
It did devolve. Let's say into anime.
I feel like it's the perfect ending.
Aha. But every good drunken anime session should devolve into anime openings.
Just has to. What's the best?
I think it's kind of funny how anime openings are so kind of integral to anime community. Like other things don't have it. People who are into sci-fi, people who are into TV shows, they have opening themes. But no one, it's not like a huge thing like it is in anime.
The opening themes aren't usually lyrics in those kind of shows, whether they are in anime. And I think also it's almost like the relationship of a word to an idea. Let's say a word book to a physical book. It's almost like the opening is an abbreviated form, a form that can be easily communicated as an identifier for the idea of the whole anime.
Yeah. Like Haruhi's a good one, because synonymous with Haruhi is the Haru Haru Yukai, the first ending. That kind of song and dance is like integral to the show itself,
and the culture,
but yet
surrounding
completely
it.
Separate. But it's such like it's like an icon. It's like that's just as big as the show itself. It's like a weird. I don't know. I don't feel like you don't find that in other things.
No, I feel like it's very much an otaku derivative idea that you have this specific song, which is, I guess it's like Do You Remember Love? You have this specific song that kind of resonates with the show, resonates with the hearts of the people who watch the show. It's something to bond over.
Well, Macross obviously did popularize a lot of songs in anime a lot.
Of course.
But it was not like that made it up. Like even before that, I think the thing that really cemented it in kind of the culture is the TV companies forcing them to have 1 minute 30 long openings, which is too long for a half-hour show. 1 minute 30 of opening, 1 minute 30 of ending is too long for a half-hour show, but it just makes you come up with a good song.
Out of restriction comes beauty and innovation.
Yeah, you're right. Like, art comes out of kind of these weird restrictions.
It's interesting how art also often derives from, mental illness.
Oh, yeah? As in autism?
Not necessarily autism, but just in mental illness in general, often is a good, initiator art. It's almost like you have a better connection with the deep emotions that everyone feels but unable to express. And I feel like a lot of great auteurs, like Hideaki Anno, have had problems with.
Hideaki is a great artist.
He is a great artist, but he's also he's
artist,
suffering with depression.
and auteur.
You got the whole.
That's his autobiography.
Yeah.
What's your favourite anime opening, Nick?
My favourite anime opening.
What's your favourite anime opening?
I got a few favourites. Ginga Tetsudou 3-9 has an amazing opening. So does Panipone Dash.
Panipone Dash is good.
It's very good.
The openings are very good as well. All Shaft openings are great.
All Shaft openings are good. Arakawa has the best series of openings and EDs of any show. They're all perfect. There's also the opening to Denpa Honor, which is really good. There's a lot. It depends. I think there's two classes of anime openings. Openings that are just really good songs. In that we could include other stuff like Erase is an amazing fucking song for the opening. Whatever you think of the show, it's a very good song for opening. And there's plenty of other good songs for openings. But there are certain things which are anime songs which are also really good. And in that I'd include stuff like Panipone.
I'd always split it up with songs that I enjoy and songs that I sing. And singing anime's openings is that's a staple of kind of anime themed alcohol events. So you have to have kind of a list in your head of songs that you can sing. And I'm not the best singer in the world. Most of my singing derives into kind of chanting. Some of my favourite songs are the original Gundam opening, the Macross opening, and the fucking Yamato opening, which are all weird Japanese military songs that are about giant robots killing each other. They're very good. I'm not sure if they're my favourite, but they're my favourite to sing. Because you can just shout them.
You don't have to be, if you're drunk enough, you don't have to worry about whether you're good or not at singing the anime.
The problem with anime opening is that you always choose one that you would no one listens to it, because they're all looking up something they want to do.
Well, you always pick obscure shit.
Well, it's because they're my favourite ones!
Yeah, fair enough. I feel like anime openings best sung together. You gotta find something that's collectively agreed on, like Cruel Angel's Thesis or something.
Yeah, you listen to the Ava opening, you listen to the fucking Jibun Wo, you listen to, the Haruhi ending. There's staples that everyone knows. There's also staples that no one can sing, like the Lucky Star opening, which everyone always puts on and no one can ever sing because it's impossible.
And so, one of my favourites is also the Toradora opening. No, you can't sing that, it's way too quick, come on.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a beautiful song though.
Mm-hmm. And there's ones that people think they can sing but can't, like the Psychopaths opening, where they attempt to sing it, but it's always sounds shit.
Opening
Zetsubo Sensei, yep.
Well, it depends. You can sing the first. I can't remember. It's like the first or the second one that you can and can't sing.
The weird thing is that I've sung so many anime openings that I'm much more comfortable singing anime shit than I am in English. Like I can sing Japanese and it's fine. Just singing English feels a bit weird. Don't want to do that.
I think it's the connection between the meaning and the person. It's like, I'm meaning all these deep things. These are syllables which mean nothing to me, and I'm just going to sing them with all the pride in the world because all it means to me is the anime and the pride I have for liking that anime it comes from.
You're right. It also devolves often into my taste is better than yours, as all anime discussions do.
And should.
And should.
I feel like if you don't you have to put across your opinion. Like Manabi Straight is just boring. Manabi
Straight is the only good thing Ufotable have ever done.
I can't say I'm a huge fan of any of Ufotable stuff, but Manabi Straight is just.
I think I like Fate Zero.
I said it was good. I didn't like it. I gave it the same score you did.
I gave it like a 7.
I gave it 7.
It's alright.
It's alright.
It's alright.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good show.
It's not that good.
7 is a pretty high score for you. Surely
7 is actually
you can't say Manabi Straight is the only good thing that you're for.
Manabi Straight's 8. Or it's like it's a 9 actually on my list.
Yeah.
Manabi Straight's very good. You should watch Manabi Straight.
I have seen Manabi Straight and I was like, this is like a classic slice of life. It doesn't really do anything interesting with the formula.
Oh no.
The colour palette's a bit bland. The characters are a bit bland. I don't know why you suck it up.
Setting's cool. The characters are cool. The character design.
The setting's cool. They've got like hoverboards and shit.
The setting's like weird, kind of neo Japan, where like obviously some like big event happened, and they're all like living in some kind of weird cyberpunk future, but it's very similar to our future. It's cool. I like settings like that where they don't explain it properly.
I agree. I like settings where they don't explain it, but I just didn't really care for the setting that much. It just
also has a fucking claymation ending.
That's cool.
Jesus Christ, that's my favourite thing in the world.
Is that why you like it?
It's the reason why I like it.
It just doesn't. The characters aren't that interesting. Can you name any of the characters?
Manabi.
Yeah. Any others?
No.
Did not leave a big impression on you. Maybe. Can't even remember what happens in it, to be honest, because it didn't really leave much.
They're part of the school council, and they have to save the school because in Japan, in this weird future, schools are becoming kind of like obsolete because the idea is that because we're almost like post scarcity in this society where you can just kind of do whatever you want. So the idea of a school like functionally is not really valid anymore. Yeah. But the point of Manabi and our friends is that the point of the school is to make friends and to grow yourself as a human, kind of the living your youth the way that you should, like in a very Japanese kind of sense of it. The youth is the prime of your life, and that's kind of the spirit that they're trying to uphold in their school. And often all of the problems in the school that they have to deal with come from other students kind of not believing in school, like skipping out on school, not wanting to bother doing the ceremonies or like the school festival.
It's a degree of
they're trying to. Yeah, sure. It's about to do nihilism kind of in the modern world where people are rejecting kind of the traditions because they're not functional anymore, but the kind of the idea of the soul of them and the kind of what they do that is not functional, but it's kind of integral to how you should. It's a
similar idea to religious traditions. You don't know why you're doing. You don't know why you're hiding chocolate eggs in your garden. Apparently, an Easter a huge rabbit laid these eggs, even though they're mammalian.
But at the same time,
you have the meaning associated with that tradition. The joint thing. But I get the idea.
It's like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Yeah. It's like you can't get rid of all of it because some of it you just don't understand is very important, and that's kind of the soul of the show. And I feel like that's not something that is portrayed in anything very often. It's kind of a counter.
It's like a postmodern nihilism.
It's kind of postmodernism.
Postmodernism.
Yeah, it's kind of it's like a reaction to postmodernism, right? Because the setting of the show.
The setting of the show is postmodern.
So it's a reaction to postmodernism.
Well, it's not postmodernism. It's more like a retreat to traditionalism.
Sure, it's modernism. It's anti-postmodernism.
Yes.
There you go. It's good. Now you should up the fucking points. What are we going to talk about now? What were we talking about before? We were talking about Manabi Straight.
Talking about openings.
Harry's good.
Harry's good.
What's your favourite Kirani show?
Maid Dragon.
It's pretty good.
Maid Dragon's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good show. It's very good. It's a fucking amazing show, actually. It's fucking insane.
Is it your favourite show?
It may be my favourite. I can't quite put a finger on it.
You claimed it's your favourite show before.
Yeah, favourite shows are a very difficult thing, though. I feel like it's all about the moment. It's all about what's in your mind at the moment. Like, at the moment, I'm really
Everyone should have 9 favourite shows.
9,
so you put them in 3
What's in your 3x3, man?
What's in my 3x3? Let's open my 3x3, and then I'll open yours.
Can't you remember your 3x3? Isn't this
like
on the top tip of your tongue?
I don't want to get it wrong, though.
No, That'd be embarrassing.
That would be embarrassing.
Evidently, you don't like them enough.
Okay, well, the first one is Gundam's Char's Counterattack, which is a great movie. It's like kind of I don't want to go on my Gundam argument. Gundam could be a different podcast, but
what's this one about?
Char's Counterattack is the kind of the climax to the original Tomino Gundam series. It kind of brings together the themes of nationalism and the very kind of strong emotions which come with fighting in a war and all of it's anti-war, but it's a very deep show. Gundam's good.
Gundam's a very deep show. It's all about war and anti-war.
It brings together like the climax of the different characters, like the everlasting kind of Amuro versus Char conflict finally comes to a head multiple times in the film.
We're talking about the Dick Masterson versus Maddox controversy.
I don't know who this podcast is for, because the podcast is for people who are into all the things we're into.
Yeah, it's basically like if you're a Socios us, you can watch our podcast.
If you are us, you can watch this podcast. If you aren't us, you'll be confused.
Well, that's basically what Gundam is, right?
First of all,
Isn't that
I'm
what
assuming
Gundam is?
this is an anime podcast, so okay. Dick Masterson and Maddox are guys who made a podcast, and it's pretty good.
Pretty good.
And we were talking about how they were both incredibly autistic, but in so different ways that they're not the same. They're not the same
archetypal autistics, and you can.
But they're so.
The idea is that Maddox is the archetypal autist who is very concentrated on his views. He doesn't want. He wants everyone to know how autistic he is
because he derives his morals from the law. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be very.
I don't think he does derive his morals from the law, but I think he derives from his own laws.
He follows the script perfectly. Everything is right or wrong, black and white. That's kind of his. Yeah. And it works. He's the hero of the story.
But it's very objective. It's not subjective. He doesn't have that kind of subjective emotion associated with things. Like he's had very difficult problems with love in his past, and he has a lot of different complexes with his mother. No, it's not the household. This is Maddox. He has difficult problems with his mother. But this is also Amuro in that. He takes on this role, but he's very serious and always playing the line.
But he's so serious that it breaks down constantly. Like you've seen the original, or you've seen Zeta or something.
I've seen half of Zeta.
But Camille is basically the same as Amuro.
Just more autistic.
At least at the beginning, here's a better climax at the end. Yeah, so Amuro, but if something is not fitting into his little box of how things work, he breaks down, doesn't know how to react to it. He needs kind of the help of the people around him a lot. He fucking doesn't get in the fucking robot a lot.
Yeah.
But Char is also incredibly autistic in that he's a new type.
But he's always trying to get to his goal. He has this vision in mind that he's trying to achieve and trying to manifest.
He's got a goal. He wants to head towards it, but it doesn't really. The morality of how he gets to his goal is not as important as the morality of the goal in and of itself.
And in that way, he's like Des Masterson. It's not. He doesn't care as much about his own opinions. They don't matter as much. But he's trying to achieve those opinions. He's trying to get those opinions into the open and playing this duplicitous role. In
Char, you double-crossed me. Char. Yeah, he's a good character. And like in the end, their ideologies come to a head. In the finale of the Gundam UC timeline. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a good time, and it's both at the same time like a huge fight scene and kind of like a debate. You know both of their sides, you know both characters, and you kind of see how they clash, and neither one necessarily comes out on top, but they both agree in the end. It's a good thing.
Let's watch it.
What's in your top 9? Let's go with one of yours.
My top 9.
I'll bring up yours.
Bring it up. Ginga Tetsudou Tsurii 9, 1979, 1978, somewhere around then. Old anime, 100 episodes. I haven't even finished it yet. It's fucking
something
amazing.
You haven't finished in your 3x3.
Yeah.
That's a bit. That's sacrilegious. You can't do that.
How? I know it's going to be great. It's already amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's like putting an airing show on your fucking 3x3.
It's not airing. I know the ending though because I've seen the movie.
That's true. I've also seen the movie. That's all I've seen of this.
Rintaro is a mastermind. He's an interesting man. And Ginga Tetsudou Tsurii 9, even though it wasn't written by Rintaro, the original, it's still very, very good. Every episode is like a short, it's kind of like a moral story in each one. There's like something to take away from each episode. But it's done in such an interesting archetypal way where each planet is a different world where you can like fall into this neurosis. It's just beautiful to watch. And you see the main character progress in his hero's journey across all these different planets, going towards this goal where he doesn't know if this goal is going to be the goal which he's always been searching for, his mother's will. He doesn't know if he should trust his mother's will. His mother wanted him to become a mechanical human in order to have a very long life and to be able to join the society of the rest of people, not live in the slums of Earth. But he doesn't know if this is really what he wants. He doesn't know. In each step of his journey, he's being doubted by each of the people he meets. Everyone he meets thinks that being a mechanical human isn't as good as it sounds. Giving up your humanity, giving up your emotions, giving up your what makes you who you are isn't something that should be done. You should stick to your morals, stick to your intuitions, and this is his hero journey. This is him learning to be himself. His brother has died. He has Metal's comes from the Latin for meta. He's like a surrogate. She's like a. It's not like a very deep thing. It's usually like a surrogate mother. Everything is very. It's one of the things I like. Is it's very black and white about what it's trying to tell the audience. It's not like a very subtle show where each thing is like I don't quite understand the nuance of this thing. It's very in your face with the metaphor. But that's what's so beautiful because the metaphor is very powerful. Like one of the episodes, they had like the two sides of the planet. I won't even try to explain this. I have a very autistic blog. You can go watch it.
Link in the description.
Link in the description. Lol. I know I probably won't, but
I will.
What? And it's just such a beautiful show with beautiful visual metaphor, and it's beautiful. And Tetsuo is an amazing character.
It's not beautiful at all though. The characters look fucking retarded.
The characters look retarded, but it's beautiful.
Right.
It's beautiful in what it makes you feel. Meitel's a beautiful waifu as well.
Really? She's like a mother.
Shit. And it's a really good. It's just a really good show. You gotta watch it. The Rintaro adaptation doesn't actually do it justice. The original, which I was very surprised about because
Have you read it?
I haven't read it. No, I'm talking about the original anime from which the movie was based.
Oh, I see.
Because it takes it down a very different path, and the path Rintaro takes around is definitely more archetypal. It's definitely more of a movie which is easier to watch as a movie, but it doesn't do the original justice in what the original was trying to tell with each of the planets.
No.
He comes to its conclusion to
but
it.
it would be impossible. It would be impossible to tell the same story within the same constricted 2 hours.
It's difficult. There's so
literally
many
150 episodes.
Yeah, it's difficult, but it has a different feel to it. It has a different message from it. And Adio, the sequel movie, which Rintaro just conjured up all on his own, is also very good. But it only makes sense in terms of the movie which he made, where it had this whole like father dynamic with Harlock and with the evil mother. But it doesn't follow on from the show itself. So there's many ways to watch it. The original is very long, but I do recommend it. It's a very good show to watch. And each episode, it's completely episodic, so you can just go at your own pace and keep watching bits and pieces here and there. And each episode has something to take away from it, something you can bring into your own life. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting world that Leiji's
that's the good thing about
curates.
Some older shows are like very episodic, as in they weren't expecting you to watch every episode. You watch them when they're on. You just kind of they're on TV, so you watch an episode. So you have to kind of be able to understand it just from one episode, which a lot of new anime just doesn't do.
No.
Basically, only very old anime do.
And anime nowadays rarely even have like a recap like pit at the beginning. No. Because if the model by which people watch anime has changed so drastically, especially with moe stuff, and there was just less anime that could be made, so you had to make something which was going to be, you knew was going to be popular, and you're going to stake everything on this one anime.
But again,
keep making it for a year.
I think that is kind of due to the restriction of that's how anime worked. Things came out of it that you don't get nowadays.
Yeah.
Things like these kind of every episode has its own little thing that it wants to tell you, while a new series might have just the series has one thing it wants to tell you over the entire series.
And especially in Ginga Testudou Tsurii 9, you have this beautiful, like, fuck off, and you have a beautiful thing that goes across each episode where you have this almost like a narrative arc of music, where you have the same like pieces of music played at each important point of the episode, and it just endears you so much to those moments of the show where you feel that emotion that connects it to that piece of the show. Has the same piece of music as everything's being resolved, the same piece of music as everything's being introduced, the same piece of music as the ending comes in, and you hear the narrator say the fateful line which sums up the moral of the show, of that episode, and it's to die for. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like I never really had that. I never really watched any long-running thing when I was a kid. I feel like that's the kind of show it is. And I never really get into long-running stuff because I get bored quite quickly with long-running stuff.
It's difficult.
Although I have watched Gundam. Because they're different.
It feels justified when it's split into parts. Because when it's split into parts, you can watch a piece here, piece here, and then you watch the bit that you like, and if you like that bit, it works on its own story. But if you like that idea, you can keep going with it in other seasons.
You quite like long-running stuff, right? Because you've watched things like Saints of Conan, obviously, Gintama, which I was like, sure, it's funny, but I don't want to watch this for days of my life.
I've watched Gintama 3 times. It's quite bad. Back in the
day. 3 times.
3 9. Let's pick something of yours. What have you got?
Right.
Well, what are we going to rant about this time?
The second thing on my list is Kare Kano. Kare Kano is an anime from 1998, which I'm now convinced that 1998 was the best year for anime
what else
of all years.
Well, I haven't noticed.
Quite a lot of things came out in 1998. So yeah, in 98 we had Cardcaptor Sakura, which is pretty good. Have you seen Cardcaptor
Sakura? I have
Sakura?
not, but it's something I plan to watch forever.
It's very good. It is 70 episodes.
Yeah.
But
that's a lot. You see, you don't watch long things, but evidently.
That 70 episodes is not long.
It's pretty long.
Yeah, it's pretty long. Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy was good.
Cowboy Bebop was pretty good. And it's a little known show. Neo Ranga is one that I just watched. It's bizarre, but it's also pretty good. Perfect Blue. That's a great movie.
Perfect Blue is insanely good. It's the best. So good.
If you're gonna watch a Satoshi Kon film, or Satoshi Kon anything, just watch Perfect Blue.
It's definitely the best Satoshi Kon.
It is magnum opus.
It's beautiful the way they intertwine all the different plots, how they have all the beautiful visual metaphor, which doesn't feel too out there. It doesn't feel like it's almost like jarred in, like someone tried to crowbar in this visual metaphor. It just works so well within the confines of the plot. And even though it doesn't quite make sense at first, everything kind of elucidates itself and like, wow, this metaphor works on so many levels. It's just beautiful.
It's good. Let's not talk about every single episode thing that came in 98. There's also Pokemon, started in 98.
Wow.
Lane, Yokohama Shopping Log, and Initial D. All came out in 98. 98 is the best year. What were they actually talking about? Kare Kano. Kare Kano is the first big project that Gainax did after Evangelion. It kind of has the same kind of weird directorial feel. Anno's definitely had his kind of... It's during like the Anno Prime of that kind of era. It's like weirdly directed, but it's like a pretty straightforward romance a lot of the time. But the way it's directed and the way that it kind of feels is much more like the emotions are much more raw. It feels much less. Doesn't feel like otaku media, is what I think. It feels more like something.
I feel like none of Anno. NG does sometimes feel like otaku media, but I feel like Anno has always drawn upon like inspiration from other sources and doesn't always have this incestuous.
What I would call Anno's stuff is anti-otaku media. Yeah. A lot of his stuff is he is the fucking biggest otaku. He's like a massive nerd, but like his fucking crusade is a lot of it's anti kind of the things that he's been sucked into, the things that he doesn't like about the kind of the community that's grown around kind of anime and otaku stuff.
Well, you have to bring in fresh ideas in order to keep the medium fresh itself, and you can't just have this incestuous and genetically.
The thing with Kare Kano is that Kare Kano is a much more the characters in it are like normies, which is kind of rare for romance anime. Normally, romance animes are very like awkward, but Kare Kano kind of goes straight in with it. It's very straightforward.
But it's also, both characters are very autistic.
But they're not like weird otaku people.
No,
they're weird normies which have kind of normie problems, which otaku people also have, but they kind of manifest differently. I mean, seeing it from a kind of a different angle, literally a lot of the time, but is very interesting. And I feel like it's a fascinating kind of bringing something that isn't very anime-like into anime is the main appeal of the show. It's something that you wouldn't normally see in this medium, and kind of the way that it's depicted is obviously amazing looking a lot of the time.
But it's also a show that brings in, it's about people in a relationship, not people getting into a relationship, which is much rarer in anime itself.
That's true.
It's a unique one in that sense. Mm-hmm. It's a good show. I agree. It's very good.
Kare is very good.
We're back! James had a piss. Okay, now I'm going to talk about Akira, the best movie ever made.
We're already fucking talking about Akira!
Yeah, allegedly. I don't know if that podcast will ever be uploaded.
Bonus episode.
Yeah, so you have to pay and subscribe to our Patreon to unlock the bonus episodes. It may one day resurface. So Akira is the best movie ever made. It's the beautiful...
We should insert the other podcast here.
Yeah, that's the genius idea. Let's make this 3 hours long. Okay. Akira is the best movie ever made. It's the beautiful tales of two brothers. It's like in Genesis, you got the two dudes at the beginning. I can't remember the name. It's all about the idea of the brother who can't quite become the older brother and is jealous of the older brother's power and is vengeful against him and has all this hatred against him, and the older brother who comes down against him. And it's the idea of God as a concept in the yin-yang between nature and science are trying to achieve prescience over God, and it's just a beautiful anime. It's so beautiful.
Okay, stop. Not talking about 3x3 anymore. That's boring.
Okay, what are we going to talk about then? I don't know. We didn't plan this at all. It was very impromptu. This podcast.
Let's talk about anime.
Inaudible. Sponsored by Inaudible. We can't.
Sponsored by Inaudible.com. The silent website
for listening to not listening to podcasts.
When you need to listen to nothing for a little bit.
The beautiful manifesto on how Autism doesn't exist, because Autism He's just a sociopath.
Should we talk about Autism doesn't exist? Should we talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about how awesome.
Let's talk about that. That's a bad idea.
No, just go one with it. James, enlighten us.
Okay. Autism is a fraud. I don't remember the script. So
Dangerous and powerful
fraud.
I'm not going to bring up... Just bring up your main points. Who was invented by? And on what date?
Someone Kellner, I think, in like
1946?
1940 something.
Something like that.
Before that, there were no autists.
There weren't.
What a weird coincidence is that. I don't believe... there must be something fishy going on there. Before this specific date, there was no autism. There's got to be something going on there. Maybe autism doesn't exist. Have you ever thought about that? Ever thought about that?
It has crossed my mind. It has crossed my mind.
Multiple occasions, I assume. Because I think it's a universal truth that everyone knows. But no one's brave enough to say.
There's a lot of things that everyone knows, but no one can say. It's like it's like everything. It's just... It just doesn't exist. I've been called autistic so many times, and I just think, what are you talking about? It doesn't exist. If anyone watches.
I mean, my actual point was more that autism... Not that autism doesn't exist, more that autism shouldn't exist.
I feel like you become what people tell you are.
Well, no, you become what you think yourself is.
But I feel like you can only think that's what yourself is because people say, if people tell you, oh, you're gluten intolerant, you probably have a gluten problem, then you're probably going to have a negative reaction to gluten. It's like a nocebo. It's the opposite of a placebo.
Exactly. And so if you in your heart know that autism does not exist, then the slander of autism cannot connect with you. Yeah. So you won't start acting like an autist.
You have to create a semi-permeable membrane with your heart. It has to be a powerful osmotic gradient, only to let the good things in.
Yes, pretty autistic. Next.
What's your opinion on Buddhism, James?
Buddhism is a Chinese colloquialism for Christianity. It's basically the same thing, right?
No. Buddhism's like the antithesis of Christianity.
Horseshoe of religion, it's the same thing.
I suppose it's the horseshoe of religion if you take the gradient across the Eurasian Peninsula. It's like the only thing further east than Buddhism is Shintoism and Confucianism and Taoism. But do Confucianism and Taoism even count as religions?
Confucianism, definitely not. That's like saying fucking...
Communism's a religion.
Yeah.
I think it depends. I mean, atheism's kind of religion.
It's true. Autism's kind of religion. Shintoism's hardly a religion, it's kind of more a thing. Taoism, I have no idea what it is. No one knows what Taoism is.
You don't know what Taoism
Even
is?
the Taoists don't know what Taoism is.
Well, that's because they're Taoists.
Exactly. So Buddhism is the only other religion in the East.
I mean, no, Buddhism's a much better religion.
Go on, why?
Buddhism's a very good religion because it teaches you the depths of oneself. And Christianity under Luther, specifically Thomas fucking Aquinas, St. Thomas Aquinas ruined the West.
Right.
Martin was pretty smart, but he kind of undermined what made us...
I mean, Martin Luther was an atheist.
Well, that's not true.
I mean, he is.
He was a monk.
He was an atheist monk.
He wasn't a monk.
He was atheist in all but the sense of the term. He didn't believe the doctrines of the Bible a lot of the time. His idea was go back to the basics. The social constructs, let's say, built up around the Bible over the hundreds of years since it had come into Europe were kind of not within the teachings of the Bible itself.
Yeah. Well, it's all canon created by the Catholic Church, and he was rejecting the Catholic Church.
Yeah, he was rejecting the Catholic Church, and therefore he was rejecting the concept of Christianity as it was at the time.
Well, he's rejecting the concept of Christianity as an organised religion. I feel like what he envisioned was a more democratic idea of Christianity. But as a result, it splintered off into 1,000 different groups of Protestantism, like Presbyterianism and
I think that was his plan.
Do you think it was all according to Keikaku?
I think it was all according to Martin Luther's Keikaku.
But I feel like what he did, part of what he did was he didn't believe that you could redeem yourself through action, but redemption was almost given out indiscriminate to people. I feel like it's an important idea that you were able to redeem yourself with good actions. That Buddhist idea of karma.
Taking the power out of the state and giving it back to kind of
I
nothing.
disagree. I feel like the power went back to the state.
The state was... The Catholic Church was the state. The state and the Catholic Church were in cahoots.
I wouldn't say they were the same entity. There were two competing entities, two different life forms which are competing each other in almost like a symbiotic system.
It was more like how the House of Lords and the House of Parliament. There's different things.
Yes, but
part
they're
of the
both
same system.
Yes, but
he was anti that system.
Having both of them is mutually beneficial, and it's beneficial for everyone because that means there's a more fair system.
He wanted to pull the people out of the system built by bureaucrats in Rome. That's what he was. He was about bringing the power to the people, basically. That was his idea.
Yeah, and in Protestantism, where you had the German mysticism which came before it, and translating the Bible into German was all his idea. And I mean, the German translation of the Bible is still Martin Luther's translation, if I remember correctly. And this is all his idea: bringing the word of God to the people and making the direct contact between each person and God,
bypassing the current power that be at the time. It was very revolutionary idea. But yeah, I feel like he was very kind of anti-state kind of person.
I know the thing about that, because during the Peasants' Revolt, he sided with the state, not the princes, not the peasants, if I remember correctly. So I think he was democratic in the church sense, but not in the political sense. So he had these almost like two worlds.
I see. Maybe do you think he actually thought God existed?
Yeah, I think so. Why wouldn't he? Why would he start a new sense of Christianity if he didn't believe God existed? Because he's trying to undermine it.
He didn't like the Pope.
I don't think that was it. I think he just had different opinions as to what being forgiven by God was.
We need a Martin
Luther podcast?
I was going to say anime, but also podcast.
Martin Luther anime.
We've got a Jesus and Buddha anime. That was funny.
Oh yeah. I've heard of that.
That's pretty good. It's not actually. I feel like we've run out of things to say. That's it. Bye.
Bye, guys.